Okay, part 4 of the Haunted House series is adding a light to one of your windows. So we wanted to make it look like there's an eerie light that came on. All right, so this is a pretty simple process. The first thing we're going to do is choose a light. So I've chosen this light up here. I just like the angle of it. I like to use upstairs lights. I think they're a little more creepy. But I really need to get rid of the dirt off of this light. So I'm going to go up to my dirt mask, get a soft brush, paint with black, and you don't have to be too cute with this, but I want to make sure I get that off of there. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is go back to my background layer, and I'm going to use my polygonal lasso tool to carefully select the pixels, and I'm going to the middle of the frame. All right, you're going to want to try to go to the middle of the frame, because when the light comes on in a window, it actually would cast a shadow around the outside of the frame, but really highlight the inside of the frame. So to the best you can, try to get half of the frame as you go around that. And then I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to feather this by 1. Select Modify Feather, 1. And now I'm going to copy and paste, Control C, Control V. Now we got a big problem, right? So when we did that, it disconnected, just like when we did the puppet warp, it disconnected our levels from our background copy. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this all the way above my dirt layer, okay? Actually, I'll move it below the dirt layer just so you can see why eventually we're going to move it above the dirt layer. And you can see that once I did that, the levels now once again affects all 4 of those layers, which is good. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. And what we want to do now is add a brightness contrast layer adjustment. So if I click on this icon here and go to brightness contrast, I'll get a window up. And I, for some reason, like to use legacy. All that means is it uses an old mathematical algorithm to create the brightness and contrast. But, oh yeah, I've got to clip it, right click, clipping mask. Brighten it up quite a bit, make it look like it's sort of glowing. Don't do contrast too much because you start losing a little bit. I'm going to keep it right about where it was. A little bit of contrast. And don't blow it all the way out like this. You want to be able to see a little bit of the frame if you have framing inside of the window. Okay, and now what we're going to do is click on that layer again. I'm going to actually call this one Window Glow. And we're going to add an effect to it. So if I go down to EFF, which stands for effect, I'm going to do an outer glow. And when I do that, I got a bunch of settings. Opacity will obviously allow you to see some of that glow or not. Noise is probably a bad idea. It'll add grain to it, so I'm not going to put any noise on it. Spread and size are really the ones you need to pay attention to. So I think by default, they're both pretty far down. I'm going to do size first, which adds like this feathered sort of gradient out, and spread will create sort of more thickness. But again, don't go crazy with those. So, and the problem you'll notice is that I've got all of this grain and noise around out here. Well, that's because my window glow is beneath my dirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a group. So if I'm going to shift select both my adjustment and my layer, Control G to create a group. Call this window. I'm just going to call it window. And then I'm going to move that layer, left click, hold, and drag above the dirt. And you'll see that it comes out looking pretty good. And that's pretty much it. But just know that you can now go back in if you want to change your brightnesses and contrast and click on the brightness and go to properties. You can still adjust that because it is an adjustment layer and we worked non-destructively. So that is how you make a glowing window.